talk about the panel processing industry.
Well, John, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I when I look back at the woodworking industry, it was around 2000 that we began to look closely at the panel processing side, which was always just a vertical niche in woodworking back then.
I was going to say back then, I mean, panels were not known for anything high quality that you'd put in a home. Were they?
Well, panel processing has been around for a long time, particularly in Europe. But in America, it really just kind of was taking hold. But for me, having a chance to visit Ligna over in Hanover and getting to Interzum in Cologne, you begin to see the effects of automation,
right,
the fantastic surfacing. And of course, as we know, that's ultimately going to get to the United States. So in 2003, we launched Surface and Panel really as a niche in the horizontal woodworking industry. Now today, if you fast forward, it's the largest process in the world and continuing to grow. Right. And I think when you look down the road, you'll find out that solid wood products will be artisan products.
Right.
And they'll be expensive.
Yeah.
People will still desire them, but panel processing will pick up the slack on just about everything in furniture and cabinets.
Do you think the volume and the interest and the market adoption is going to, do you think it's going to be kind of a hockey stick adoption as it goes through generations? Because, I can tell you, so we just moved into a new home after almost 15 years in the same house. And apparently both my wife and I, we don't consider ourselves old, but we must have old school values because, my wife was going through the house we ended up buying and kind of looking at the cabinets and going, oh yeah, they're solid wood, that's good. And oh, dovetail drawers, oh, that's good. And, going through it in a very traditional mindset. And then of course, the new house is bigger than the old one. So that means you have to fill it with furniture. So this is a whole separate conversation that I could fill 3 hours with, but furniture shopping with your wife, she's going around and kind of disappointed, dismayed because she's applying the same standards to the furniture shopping. So looking for a bigger dining room table, but there is no such thing really as a solid wood dining room table anymore. And if it was solid hardwood, I keep reminding her, that'd be a $30,000 table right now. And we're not spending $30,000 on a dining room table.
It would also be subject to cracking and splitting.
Right. Yeah. But, she's still, as I have too, she looks at her parents' house and her parents' furniture and, like her mom's dining room table was passed down, through generations and, God only knows how old that thing is, but, still standing up. And, I think the younger generations just look at things as more as styles and fashion and consumable. And, this is the way I want my house to look today. And, maybe 5 years from now, I want to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that this is something that's happening as we speak. Older Americans, the baby boom generation that's retiring, moving into, senior living facilities, not necessarily assisted, but, but moving into new condos and apartments. And they're finding when they have modern kitchens, and when I say modern, I don't necessarily mean the style, although many of them are, they'll open up the drawers and have some of these magnificent metal drawer box systems from people like Bloom and Grass and Soliche and others that are far more efficient, far more accurate. They're not dovetailed.
Right.
They're not made out of wood. But even the older Americans are looking at this and saying, this is fantastic.
Right.
I love the look. I love the feel. So where I think America has had this, they've been constricted thinking that, well, they're older people, they're going to want a solid wood, solid oak kitchen. Not anymore.
Well, it strikes me that's one of the things that I love about publishing is, we get the benefit of being able to travel the world and take these, facility tours and go to amazing trade shows like, IWF or KBIZ, where, you see the latest, greatest, amazing trends. And, it's I think been smart on my part that I've resisted taking my wife to KBIZ, because God help me if she actually saw what was possible. We'd be gutting the entire house to the bones. But, the average consumer, or, the average builder, the average person, in the trade, you think about that lag of time before there's mainstream adoption, from when a trend or a new product or a new technology comes out. And that's what I've always loved about publishing is, you have this perspective of an industry that literally nobody else in the industry has, because we travel so much and we see so much and we talk to so many people that, even though maybe you're not manufacturing a product in the industry, you know more about the industry than probably anybody in the industry that you're serving. So,
it's true that being in the publishing business, and it sounds a little bit arrogant, but we tend to have a little more of an omniscient view than somebody who's making a supply product or only one segment. And so I think we can see some trends.
Yeah.
Back in 2003, panel processing was a bit of a niche. It appeared that it was going to explode, and it has.
Yeah.
So you can look at a panel processing facility in Keokuk, Iowa, and it'll look identical to one that's in Shanghai, China.
Right.
Technology is the same. The panel products are, and that's the other thing. Panel products and decorative surfaces have advanced so far, and they are so accurate in their production that you can now use highly automated and highly accurate machinery to process it.
Yeah.
Whereas with solid wood, we used to say God grows trees. You have to accept grain variation.
Right.
And deal with it in your production facility.
Right.
So everything was always, there was always a lot of handwork when it comes to solid product.
Yeah.
The panel products, unbelievably sound, accurate.
Yeah.
And you can make accurate products out of it.
Right. Well, you definitely sound, like a lot of the industries that some of our publications have served, you're passionate about this industry, but what's kept you in publishing? Like why publishing?
Well, it's since we're in an industry like this that we're very passionate about.
Right.
And have been in publishing all my life. It's a unique place for us, and it's a fantastic spot to be.
Right.
Because we get to see these trends, we get to report on it. And it really goes back to a natural curiosity. Love to get into people's facilities, see the latest technology that they're using.
Yeah.
How they're advancing. And I think the most exciting thing for our industry, even though I mentioned panel products, the decorative surfaces have become so realistic that young consumers, old consumers, nobody says anymore, well, is that a laminate?
Right.
They don't know if it's a laminate. It's so realistic.
Right.
Now they just say, I love the look, and if it's priced right, that's what I want.
Yeah.
So they've taken away that objection to what used to be called plastic laminate.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I mean, like you, it's I think every English or language arts teacher that I had in school would be surprised that I found myself in publishing. It was never my favorite subject and never wanted anything to do with it. Never thought I would be involved with writing or publishing or anything of the sort. But like you, I've always had this natural curiosity about things. And, from an early age, I always thought, man, how cool would it be, if there was reincarnation, or if you could just live, 50 lifetimes, all the different things I would want to try with each lifetime. I'd like to, do this as a career, and then I'd like to do this, and I'd like to do this. And, even at a young age, I remembered, not a high anxiety, but almost this stress of man, I've got to pick a career that tries to fulfill as much of this as possible. And stumbling into publishing, I pretty quickly realized how cool it is that you can be involved in, know more about, and serve as many industries as you have publications that serve. So, over my career, I've been involved, when you think about it, yes, I've been in publishing my whole career, but what I've really been involved in is, the auto industry and the firearms industry and the education industry and the hunting industry and you could keep going on and on through all these different industries of, right now, like we serve, construction and building materials, which, this is part of it, and first responders and military and public utilities and transportation. And, you think about those things as such disconnected, disparate things, but probably like you, I think about the audience we serve. And I think about how much each one of those readers relies on our written word to make good business decisions or to be informed, to try to, gain the benefit of all of our travel and all of our discussions. If we can boil that down into one great article that, moves the needle for them, like, creates that aha moment. Wow, I never knew that. Wow, that changes my whole view of how I'm going to do this in my business. I always thought, wow, what a cool thing to be able to do, but wow, what a heavy responsibility to kind of honor that service and that responsibility, not take shortcuts.
This episode is sponsored by Uniboard. Uniboard, the North American leader in the design and manufacture of particle board, MDF, and decorative composite wood panels. Uniboard is renowned for having one of the most extensive product portfolios of engineered wood products in North America, ranging from deep embossed and synchronized TFL textures to ultralight MDF. Uniboard's products are sold to retailers, distributors, and finished goods manufacturers, which cater to the kitchen cabinet, furniture, office, home renovation, and construction industries. Uniboard, redefining wood.
So what attracted you to acquire Bedford Falls Communications and Surface and Panel?
Well, we've been talking, for quite a while, and, publishing is, becoming, I don't know. I guess it's always been, maybe a small group, right? Even no matter how big media has gotten, it's still, I think, a pretty tight group. We all seem to bump into each other and know each other. And for me, more than P&Ls or anything else that normally drive acquisitions, to me, it's about shared values. Do you have a service mentality towards the industry that you're involved in? Are you looking to exploit it or are you looking to serve it? And, from go, it was evident that we shared that service mentality, that, we had a responsibility to our audience and the market to try to deliver the best with every single issue. And I think a lot of publishers have tried to take shortcuts, and I think they've gotten scared by changes in media, with digital and the web and social media, and it's gotten to be a noisy, confusing place. But, for me, and that natural curiosity, change was always a natural thing. Like, I never wanted the business to stay the same for a month, much less a year or 10 years. So when things like digital and social media and everything came along, it didn't change the foundation of the business at all. It was still about service and serving that audience with the best content we can possibly deliver. We just deliver it through different vehicles now, and sometimes it's print and sometimes it's digital and sometimes it's social, but it doesn't mean that people don't still want and need credible, valuable information that they can trust. And I think that's what has made publishing even more valuable than maybe it ever was, because, now we're surrounded by so much fake news, I mean, to
Sure.
use the coined term now. But it's true, it's hard to know what you can trust. So some of our publications go back almost 100 years. So there's no disputing you can trust them.
Yeah.
So when I met you and I saw what you did with Surface and Panel, and it was already an industry vertical that we were in, and, certainly this is an exciting segment of the industry that's innovating a lot of amazing things, and, is just on, not to say that it hasn't already taken off, but I think we agree that there's far more upside to growth in the market than has been experienced yet. It was just a great opportunity.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have you as a partner. I guess I'm still with you here for a while, but I'm very pleased.
Yeah. Well, it's been, exciting. I think one of, my favorite parts of acquiring companies like yours is, getting people like you as a mentor, that we can take over the messy, unfun stuff, like, the admin and the corporate stuff, and, which I don't enjoy either. And leave you really to focus on, sharing that career worth of wisdom and knowledge, and everything you've learned about the industry, everything that you've been exposed to, because those are the valuable assets, in my opinion, and those are the things that you really can't put a price on. Once you join the senior tour and start playing golf full time, there won't be getting that knowledge back. So the most fun part, I think, has been, just spending time with you and, traveling around with you and meeting people in the industry and listening to the stories that you guys have, and listening to stories about how the market has changed and will continue to change, which really prompts the ideas of how we can service those needs. What new things can we do? What new information can we provide that help keep the audience abreast of those things before they land on their desk?
Sure. One of the things that I love about Surface and Panel, now we are all about panel processing.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if you make store fixtures, kitchen cabinets, office furniture, household furniture, even millwork today. The processes and the technology used are the same. So when we do a story on a kitchen cabinet manufacturing company, people that make office furniture will enjoy reading it,
Right.
because they're faced with the same challenges, use the same materials, same surface materials. So it's fun to be able to traverse all these different industry subsections, because they all come back together in the end.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah. I mean, do you think, what do you see right around the corner in the industry? I mean, do you see more big changes, or is it more just growth and widespread adoption?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think the acceptance of surfaced composites today that are used in kitchen cabinets and store fixtures, etc., we've crossed that barrier. It's no longer a problem having a laminated product.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two now is the automation levels that are being deployed are increasing day by day. There are companies now in America investing a lot of money, and basically their goal is to have a lights out facility.
Yeah.
Where material handling, processing is with as little labor as possible. Now you still need it, of course, but that's really the next.
Yeah. What's been your biggest frustration of, either within, Surface and Panel in the business, something that you keep trying to get across that just hasn't gotten across, or, your frustration within the industry that just hasn't done what you think it should do? Or
Well, I'll tell you what, talk about being frustrated. I kind of grew up on the machinery side of this business, even though I have a great affinity for the surface materials, and I love it because that's what drives design and style in this business. But when I go back to where I started in the upholstered furniture business. And it was a very large upholstered furniture manufacturer who had its own rough mill. When you look at a rough mill, I mean, they had an inventory of lumber that they bragged about, that they could build a sidewalk from Wisconsin to Pennsylvania with as much lumber as they had in the yard. So when you imagine a rough mill, a tremendous amount of labor, a lot of machinery. Irvington Moore dry kilns, which I lived in for 9 months. I was a lumber dryer and grader way back when. But as the industry changed, CNC technology came along, and you're now able to nest all of your frame parts out of plywood and cut them on a CNC.
Right.
And what it in essence did was eliminate that entire rough mill, which is very expensive. Well, the company that I work for never adopted the latest techniques, and they ultimately went out of business.
Right.
So, I was interested in the technology and the machinery. So I kind of grew up on the machinery side of the business, which led to the panel processing side.
Right.
You look at panel saws, edge banders, CNC, machining centers. It's amazing technology that you can really only use if you have a material that's also very accurate. So that's kind of how it started. So the frustration has been since 2003, the adoption of panel processing in more segments.
Yeah.
But it's beginning to explode today, so it's arrived.
Yeah. No, I have a similar frustration. I mean, applied more to publishing, but it's and it's about technology, and it's about misperceptions of things. I think everybody has their expertise, right? And these guys make beautiful products and beautiful cabinets and beautiful everything. And what we do is make beautiful, amazing, productive magazines. And what we really are is marketers, right? I mean, we understand how to move an audience, how to introduce something, how to get those people educated and interested in moving from point A to point B. And I think what's always frustrating to me is, a financial guy, no matter how great he is at finance, would never assume he knows how to manufacture a cabinet. And he would never even try. And if he wanted to, he would go out and look for the very best cabinet maker. And equally, it just surprises me in so many of the industries that we serve, how many people have truly just amazing, innovative products and for some reason believe they don't need to market. That somehow, I'll tell you, one of the biggest jokes around the office is what we call the marketing strategy, because we will literally get this response from people when we talk to them about how we can take their product to market. And the response sometimes is, this is mostly on the construction side of the business, but they'll say, no, I prefer to fly under the radar. I said, in all my years of business school, I don't recall ever reading about the sales and marketing strategy called flying under the radar. In the mental picture that I get of flying under the radar is, a retail store turning off its lights, closing the blinds, flipping the slide to close. Well, that's flying under the radar, right? I mean, if nobody knows you're in business, that's as stealth as you can get, right? So, I just wonder, because I always imagine us as one of their sales and marketing team. We're a head count. And what can we do versus that sales rep on the road? And, what we do is we talk to tens of thousands of people using our relationship and our credibility to vouch for these people, saying, you need to talk to these guys because we've already vetted the whole industry and these are the guys that we're promoting. And I think that, it's just getting people to understand that, to try that. And once they try it and they see the results, it's very rare, that we ever lose a client, because, they finally get it. And the return on investment of marketing at that level to that many people, it makes their sales team more effective. It's just trying to get people to drink the Kool-Aid and try it the first time. It's, because you've got something that you built that is so amazing and it works so well. And for some reason, especially in this day and age, people just think, oh no, I'll just create a Facebook page. It's like, you're going to create a Facebook page. Well, yeah, that's exactly where I go to get all of my credible news and information that I help make good business decisions is Facebook. And, a longtime client of ours just last week, he gave me the best response to that. Like, he started this conversation kind of promoting us. And I said, man, will you write that down in a testimonial? That is the best. Like, I couldn't write it myself, even if I was faking it. But he just said, I hear this all the time. And the question I ask myself, am I in business to get friends and likes, or am I in business to get sales? Said, I prefer sales. And that's why I work with you guys. I just thought, man, if I could just put that guy on the road, everybody'd be drinking the Kool-Aid.
Well, in publishing, we do stand between all these fantastic companies that have products to offer,
yeah,
and the people that need them.
Correct.
And the way we operate in between there is really going to be determining our success or failure. And when I look back at when the digital revolution came, a lot of people in publishing turned left and became online only and vacated print.
Life magazine is probably the best failure example of that experiment. I mean, a truly amazing magazine, with a long history and a huge circulation and wildly successful. And, I could name names of the genius that thought, hey, I've got an innovative idea. How about we just don't print it and we don't mail it and we just make it digital, and everything else will remain the same? Wow, wouldn't that be financially great? And, they were out of business in, 5 months, I think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we in retrospect, we made a good decision, because when everybody was turning left to go digital, and you need your digital components, of course.
Absolutely.
But we turned right and we embraced print in a huge way, because we knew we were in a design business.
Mm-hmm.
So the photography, the design and layout of the stories, the original content was something we really embraced and were committed to.
Yeah.
And I think Surface and Panel from the beginning was, we were kind of out there alone.
I was just at a publishing conference, and there was a panel, and a group of us were up there talking, and I was kind of staying more quiet than most, but which I know is hard to believe. But they were talking about the struggles of print and whatnot, and they kind of finally came to me, and I said, I hate to rain on your parade, but I mean, our print circulation's at an all-time high. And, we're able to demand ad rates at an all-time high, and sales as a result are at an all-time high. And, honestly, I don't know what you're talking about. And, the room kind of went quiet, and I just said, look, we just finished a 2-year study of our readership. And, what we wanted to answer was to really get behind the claim that young people only want to read things digitally. And, what we found is that this really isn't an age or generational thing, because, again, we saw our print at an all-time high. So we're scratching our head going, well, if all the young people want to read digitally, then why is print at an all-time high? Maybe we just have a whole bunch of old readers, and there's, they're just not dying or something. I don't know. And what we found is that it really doesn't have to do with age. It has to do with passion for the subject matter. So, young people still read print. It just so happens when they're young, they're more interested in snowboarding or mountain bike riding or yoga or whatever it happens to be. And the things that they're most passionate about, they consume print, and they have that magazine, and they dog-ear the pages, and they show their friends. And they see the print ad, and then they of course immediately pull out their phone and they Google the page, and they learn more about that company. But it isn't until usually you get into now, I was passionate about my career when I was 11, but now it isn't until you get into your 30s or so and you start thinking about getting married and having kids and buying a house that all of a sudden now your career becomes important, and learning about the industry that you work in and being at the cutting edge of knowledge becomes important. And then all of a sudden it becomes your passion, right? And then that's when you start investing yourself in trade publications and whatnot. So it was a very costly, lengthy research project that, we even hired a third firm to do it because we didn't want any of the findings to be skewed. But that's it. And that's why it explains, our print circulation, and certainly consumer magazines are having a far more difficult time. But within B2B, that is such a defined audience and such a defined market, that people are usually pretty, interested in their careers and keeping their careers and advancing their careers, and, just getting quality, trustworthy information, I think is difficult to do. But I agree with you. I mean, print isn't going anywhere. Honestly, I wish it would. Like, if I could avoid a printing bill and dealing with U.S. Postal, boy, that'd be a happy day for me. But there's just nothing like holding a high quality print publication. And I always challenge everybody, to do this very experiment. Pull up a digital anything, a web page, or even a digital magazine, and try to just read that without being distracted. Like, literally just try to focus just on that and read the whole magazine page for page without getting distracted. Now, pick up a print magazine and try to multitask while you're reading the print magazine. And there's just a weird psychological thing that happens, that when you engage more senses and you're touching something and you're feeling it and you can smell the paper and you're holding it, you just can't multitask. You're immersed in that experience. And that's the power of print. And that's why the articles and the education is retained. And that's why the ads get responses.
Yes, beautifully put. Yeah. And we tried to do that with Surface and Panel.
It's a beautiful book.
We believe that, where people are looking at computer screens all day or cell phones, that and maybe at the end of the day, they'd prefer to grab something that's high quality, beautiful photography, fantastic graphics. And just as you said, I think long form journalism has a bright future.
I agree.
Because it becomes more enjoyable to sit down and actually read a print magazine.
I agree.
So what's the future of Surface and Panel?
Well, I think, like you said, John, I think the future is bright. The future is bright for publishing. It's why we're investing in companies. We're investing in growth. We don't want to see these legacies and these valuable resources, disappear from the market. So, and Surface and Panel certainly fits that. So, as you can attest to from day one, we started investing in new tools, new resources, new capabilities. This podcast is, just one of many examples. While we're anchored in print, and I believe print generates the greatest returns, I'm a strong advocate of multimedia, of delivering quality content to audiences when and how they want it. So, I want the latest breaking news as a headline on my smartphone delivered right away. But equally, if I want to read more about that, it's not going to be on my smartphone. I'm going to earmark that and go somewhere else. So we want, as good as our print is, I want everything to be that good. I want it to be that industry leading. So the websites, the newsletters, the social media feeds, the podcasts, the events, our attendance at events, I want them to all be just as good or better than anything that we do. So it is a constant investment. And now, that we're part of a bigger organization, we've got, more assets, more bodies, a larger team, greater pool of expertise. We're by no means a huge corporation. We'll never be corporate. We all have a very strong service mentality towards the industries that we work in. But things will only get brighter and broader than they are now.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel good that considering that Surface and Panels, my life's work, I feel good that I'm leaving it in good hands.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Patrick.